Hello, everyone. This is Will.
This is Alex.
Welcome back to another episode. Oh boy, they mostly come out at night.
Mostly? I should tell you everything right there.
Yeah. Wow. Before we start, we
Don't forget,
go out into the world. Search "They Mostly Come Out at Night" podcast anywhere you find podcasts.
wherever you listen to this podcast,
and follow us, please.
please like and follow and subscribe.
If you love this episode,
everything.
if this is your first episode, go subscribe. If this is your latest episode and you haven't done so, go subscribe.
If you made this film and you were in it and you find this podcast, please like, subscribe, follow, comment.
And actually reach out, because I think it'd be interesting to talk to whoever made this. It'd be pretty fun, actually.
Oh, I would love
to have a conversation with whoever made this movie, because it's just like, this is a mean movie.
We watched kind of impromptu because we are going on a little mild. We're gonna take a little break.
My fault. Sorry, I'm traveling, so I won't be here.
But see, at this point, you should be used to us having like.
Yeah, but usually there's not an explanation, so I feel like I should give one. I'm traveling. I'm going to Chicago, so I will not be here. So we will not be recording
until near the end of September.
Until near the end of September. So that will mean that the 23rd will be our next episode.
But hey, you have 100-some episodes. So.
Yeah, now, like I said, if this is your first time listening, we have 170 odd episodes.
We've watched 170-some movies.
Go ahead and listen. The Uwe Bowls are classics.
First, not for us.
No,
but for you.
But the episodes are great.
Just great anger.
Yes.
Let me tell you.
Help Me, I'm Possessed is a real banger.
Banger. We have 170 episodes of absolute madness and great films.
Yeah.
And some not.
A plethora of entertainment. And if you're on our YouTube, you can go watch our live streams if you want to.
There you go.
Just don't watch the one where you can't hear us talk at all.
I'm sure you'll come across
weird
it.
audio.
That's fine.
But
that's fine.
Anyway, moving on. Just letting you guys know, just keeping you up to date. So yes, we were going on about a week and a half hiatus.
But today
I
made it a little impromptu because I figured, why not? So we watched
got something special.
I had this lined up, obviously, but I figured, whatever. I'll put it off sooner.
I do have to give some context. I put this on Facebook and on Instagram
Slayer.
As we were watching The Slayer,
which we will watch next time.
So correction, we actually watched The Beast Within.
The Beast Within.
Because Alex wanted me to see some cruel, evil, grotesque shit.
And I've succeeded.
You have succeeded, because this movie is icky.
I love this film.
I really liked it. I enjoyed it a lot.
This is some insane.
God, it's pretty mean-spirited.
It's very mean. It's got that like 80s horror like aggression.
It's also got those like 80s effects, which I like.
Oh my god, the effects!
Because it feels like a 70s movie, but it has like 80s effects and lighting and like everything.
It's polished. It's polished.
It's a polished 70s movie that was made in the 80s.
Because when I watched this, I watched an HD version, which looks fantastic, and we watched a standard version. But even with the standard version, like it's a movie. Like it looks good.
Yes,
it's got like it looks like an actual professional movie, but it's got this like just B movie like meanness to it.
Yeah.
And some insane effects.
Which is great. I mean, every once in a while you just need a really mean-spirited movie to
horror.
Kind of just kick you in the pants, because, that's what horror is. It's there to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah, and
and this movie succeeds at that.
And it succeeds, and I've never seen any other movie with this monster. This thing.
Anything like this thing. Let's just let the description explain, and we'll get to the end. So, if you want to see it, I think it's worth a watch. If you haven't seen it and you want to I think us describing it will ruin the
You need to
ball
just
drop at the end.
you need to just see it.
So just go if you're interested at all in like a really mean-spirited, like 1982 kind of slasher monster flick. Go watch The Beast Within before we describe this because trust me, it'll be worth it.
And that's the other thing I love is I love slasher movies, and I love monster movies.
It's also kind of a slow burn in a way. Like it doesn't really.
There's
like,
a mystery.
yeah,
and
it doesn't really like amp up until like the very end. Like
the
there's
big ramp.
there's things that happen obviously that kind of like
Murders.
Like there's murders that happen, but they don't ever show you like the big reveal.
What the hell is going on?
Yeah, until the very end. But anyway, so I implore you to go watch this before we can continue on. This is your warning.
It's your final warning.
Of course,
or as the
are,
film poster says, beware.
Yes. So yes, spoiler warning, big spoiler warning as in all of our reviews. So anyway, let's get into The Beast Within. So we get
Starts off innocent enough.
Yeah, there's like a couple at a gas station. They just got married.
It's 1964.
1964. It says it on there. It's like
Neoba, Mississippi.
Neoba.
This is actually our second film set in Mississippi.
Yep.
Our first one was The Premonition, which
you're right. Yeah.
also liked quite a bit. So, good job. Good job, Mississippi.
They're filling up on the gas and they're trying to find a bed and breakfast or something.
They're on their honeymoon, so they're going to have a honeymoon, and they're going to. It's in this. There's like a turnoff that they have to go to,
and it's like just before the city sign.
So they miss it.
And he's like, okay, let me just turn around. So he veers off the road and gets stuck in the mud. And so he tries to back up. Obviously, they're stuck. And he's like,
I'm going to go back to the gas station and get a tow.
So he leaves the wife and the dog in the car.
And it's innocent enough.
Then you get this weird scene of like a chain being pulled.
It's like an abandoned house.
And a nail is coming out of this concrete.
Of something.
And then it like yanks out. And then we get like monster vision walking through the woods. And you're like, okay, what the fuck is this?
And then like the dog is barking, so the woman like opens the door and like lets it walk, and the dog like walks up to something, and you see it like pick up the dog and like kill it and throw its carcass.
Yeah, and the woman finds the dog and she screams and she sees whatever is
coming after her.
And so she starts running, of course, trips, and then she
trips and like hits her head on like a tree.
Yeah, and she like gets knocked out.
And she's laying there and something walks up to her and like strips off her clothes, and then like it just kind of like you see like a very here's one like thing is like one of the things that I never liked in 70s movies is how like I don't know, pornographic a lot of stuff like this would feel.
Yeah, it just feels like you're like watching someone get like
someone's fetish film.
Yeah, it's weird. It feels almost like a snuff film,
but what I like in this is it's done, I mean, as weird as it sounds, tasteful, I guess.
Well, it kind of
because you see like her head.
What I hate in a lot of movies is like when they sexualize this kind of thing, like an assault on a woman. They tend to linger.
Well, it's like they'll film it in like broad daylight.
Well, and they tend to linger on it a lot.
On nudity,
so it's
yeah.
like they linger on like the nudity and everything, and you're just like, this is really uncomfortable. Like,
yeah.
Why? I don't want to see.
It's not the way to do it.
It's not the way to like show this kind of attack.
Yeah.
Because it feels more sexualized than it should.
Yeah, it's like someone's.
It's like a fetish film.
Yeah, someone's behind the camera is getting.
This
off.
one was more like. Yeah,
I mean, it's brutal.
It's brutal, but like for lack of a better word, it is kind of like more like tastefully done because they don't like linger on it.
It doesn't feel like a fetish film.
Yeah, because like you obviously know what he's doing, but it doesn't like it's only a few seconds.
It's a few seconds.
It's not like they like
most of it. You just see like it's like her head.
It's in the dark, and you just see them moving.
But you get.
But you get the idea. Like
in your brain noodle, you know.
That's the thing. You can connect the dots without it being in like broad daylight and being overly sexualized.
Yeah.
Which it really like that like you said, that stuff really bothers me.
Because that's one of the reasons that
you should never sexualize that kind of stuff.
That's why I could never get into a lot of that 70s stuff. But this is it.
Yeah.
And then like that's over, and the husband like comes back and he sees she's not in the car, and then they find the body,
Yeah,
and then it's just like they drive away.
time skips
17 years.
17 years later to
1982.
1982. So it's present day, and so they're in a doctor's office and they're trying to figure out.
Their son.
It's the same couple, but they're a lot older, obviously. And then their son is having some problems.
He's got a lot of health issues, and no one can tell them what the deal is.
When they're basically saying he's going to be maybe hooked up to machines for the rest of his life, like he might not be able to breathe on his own.
He's not getting enough like nutrients.
There's like a bunch of stuff wrong, like the feeding tube and everything, and like how expensive it's going to be.
And the doctor is like, and they're saying like, oh well, none of us, like the mom and dad, have any health problems. But then the doctor's like, well, if there's anything in the history that you haven't mentioned, like,
the mom
please do
kind of
so.
like looks a little like guilty and everything. So she like looks at the husband and he's like, no way, like we're not doing that.
And then they have a talk, and he's like, no, he's my son.
Well, he's like, it's my son. Let's just take him for a second opinion to like, Texas,
to a bigger hospital,
or like to a better hospital than Mississippi.
This little town.
Yeah. But she's like, no, we have to figure out who his dad is.
So they start investigating.
Like she's like, of course you're his father, but we have to figure out his bloodline so we know what's going on with
what
him.
that person's health was like.
Right.
So they go to this small town, and everyone's very hush hush.
Oh yeah, they're like tight-lipped as
like
hell.
They go to like, so the mayor is like also the judge, and it's
the
like
newspaper like person knows exactly who they're talking about, but won't say.
he just tells her like, she tells him like, oh, I'm investigating like small town crimes, and he's like, well, there's no crimes here.
And he's like, well,
Can I just look? And then she's like, well, I'm on my lunch break soon.
all the like old records and newspapers are in back, so she looks through them and like steals one of them
that mentions a name and like someone dying.
So he gets all upset, and he goes to the mayor, and the mayor's like, "Well, I already know what they're looking for."
And she's like, "They're looking around," and he's like, "They got the newspaper clipping of Lionel so and so."
Well, and the mayor's like, "I know, but just keep your mouth shut, and none of this will get out.
It'll be fine.
Like they won't figure out anything. It'll be good."
And then we get a they go to the sheriff.
The sheriff is the only one in the town that's not in on this whole like, cover up bullshit.
Oh, no, I like the sheriff a lot because
the sheriff is probably one of my favorite characters in the whole, because he doesn't
got
deal
no
with that
nonsense.
bullshit.
Yeah.
He's like, he doesn't like the mayor. He doesn't like anyone.
He's just doing his
town.
job.
He just him and the deputy just do their job.
They're stuck here, but whatever. But yeah, they tell him like, hey, do you like? Because they're looking for the person who originally investigated the death of the person in the newspaper clipping.
Well, and I love how they're always like, well, nothing really happens in this town. Like nothing, no big thing. Even though something huge is going on.
Something's going on.
The sheriff doesn't even know at this point.
But he tells him like, yeah, the guy who like investigated that's dead. But I worked on it, and he tells him that they found the guy in the newspaper clipping. They found him. He was torn to shreds, and they're like, oh, what? Like an animal? Like, well, it would have to be an animal that like ransacked the whole house.
No, and then at this point we do understand that they brought the son with them.
Yeah.
Just because they need to monitor him, and they
So he's in the hospital.
Didn't they bring the doctor from the other hospital? So the doctor can monitor him as well.
And we get a little. I don't know why, but I love this like touch. But we get a little title card that comes up, and it says "The First Night." And as soon as that comes up, in your head.
Well, I mean, it's kind of alluding to like some serious stuff is gonna go down.
And the son starts having like nightmares.
So he has this nightmare where he's going to like an old house, and he sees like a cellar, and it's like
pounding.
It's like something's pounding on the top of it.
And he goes and he's like, please leave me alone. Like,
and he's like, you said you let me sleep. You said you let me sleep.
He's like, okay, I'm gonna let you go, but you have to leave me alone.
And then he's like screaming and like like holding his head, and this is all in the vision.
Yeah.
And like when he's on the bed, he's like sweating and everything.
And then he actually that night goes like he runs away from the hospital.
Yeah, so they try and look for him, but he's like already gone.
He goes to that exact house and goes there and tells like he's like looking at the cellar and is like, if I let you go, like you have to like leave me alone.
Yeah, like you said, you'd leave me alone. You said you'd like let me live my life,
So
basically.
he opens the cellar, and it's like, it's metaphorical.
Opening a doorway,
It's out. And
but not in the way you think.
oh baby,
So
he goes to it's the house of the newspaper person.
yeah, so the newspaper guy thinks that he's a delivery boy.
Because the delivery boy already showed up and just like left all his shit at the door. So he's like on the phone bitching at like the store woman or whatever. Guy shows up and he just like lets him in, puts the stuff down, and the whole time like the kid's not saying a fucking word.
One is looking like really weird and disheveled and
And
just like
and the guy is
kind
just
of
like
almost emaciated too.
it's just it's one of those things that's just
It's so
uncomfortable.
weird, yeah.
Because
Well, and he keeps looking at like knives and shit and everything, and
He
you
looks
know
at-
the tension is building
well,
at this
plus
point.
like the guy is like the newspaper guy is like he's got like raw like
He's like,
ground beef.
he's like, boy, you look famished. Like, let me like make you some. How do you like yours? I like mine rare. And like even the newspaper guy is like being super weird about everything.
It's just like and there's like shots of him like
Like I don't know if they were going for like an implication kind of thing. Like
I think they're making you uncomfortable.
Yeah, he was trying to like do something with the kid, or I don't know, but like
The whole thing the whole thing's
it
engineered.
has that like air of
Yeah.
like very uneasy.
The whole thing is
whole thing.
engineered to make you uncomfortable because
He
it's just
even
like
put like he even puts like barbecue sauce on the.
he puts
on
something
on
in the meat
and
and
like,
starts like
just like.
and there's all
shuffling
the
it
sounds
around.
of like meat squishing.
Yeah,
And then like you hear cicadas going off.
and he's like, "There's no way like they're out
It's kinda
this
early. And the kid's just like getting uncomfortable. And then the kid attacks him.
Well, and he brings him to the floor, and you see the guy's foot like barefoot like squish into the
ground beef.
into the raw meat,
And while the kid's like he starts like eating his throat
and just blood splatters everywhere.
as he's like crushing a bunch of ground beef with his foot. Like it's just
It's
eh.
it's a very like grindhousey like feel to it.
And plus, I don't need to mention that the whole like his whole house is like disheveled and dirty.
Can
Like
we also mention this is a like grindhouse feel distributed by MGM and United Artists?
yeah, it had name.
Like,
It's got
It's got a studio. It's got studio names on it. So it's
got money.
It's kind of crazy that we're getting like a grindhouse feel, but with like a bigger budget.
yeah, it's got money in it.
Yeah.
And then after this, he's like we get like a woman like getting ready for bed.
When there's a dog, like he's like leaning up against the house, and a dog is like jumping up on him.
And barking at him, and then the woman walks out and she sees him and he like collapses and she calls a hospital, calls a doctor, whatever.
So it's like the next day, and he's looking better than ever.
He's looking healthy.
Yes, because
So they let him sleep.
he feasted.
Yeah. And the next day he leaves the like town people the mayor's like walking around and like it's the what the fuck is his name? The mortician.
Well, the
drives up and he's
mortician's
like,
like,
"Hey,
well, there wasn't a newspaper this
The
morning.
newspaper office is closed. It hasn't been closed in 17 years. And something's up. So they end up finding the guy's like dead body.
One
and
is like stomach is torn open, his neck is
his
like
neck is ripped apart.
it's like this horrific like murder scene, and there's blood everywhere. And there's like Jesus, like
and they're immediately like on edge.
well, I mean anyone would be like
Someone's coming. And the kid goes to the woman, the girl who helped him.
yeah, and he's just like, you saved my life, and she's
Can
like,
I come
well,
in? And
she's like, no,
my dad's
Daddy doesn't let me talk to strangers.
not on the level. And so he's like, okay, well, can you walk around?
So they start going for a walk outside, and
There's a swamp, and she's like, oh, no one goes in there.
it's like a bog, and she's like, no one goes in there, even to pick blackberries. No one like ever goes there. And he's like, well, let's go. And like for some reason, she follows him.
He goes, and she goes with him.
They start like walking around, and he like gets like a
They're talking, but eventually he mentions like, hey, your dad's is he the cousin of? And he says the Lionel something.
I can't remember. It's like a bloodline.
It's the guy from the newspaper clipping who they
Yeah.
found like murdered 17 years ago.
Who's also related to the mayor.
They're all
They're all related.
related.
And you can start kind of. Obviously not going to give it away right now because I didn't have any clue, but like it's starting to piece it all together.
Well, you know at this point that it's whatever this is, he's going after everyone.
Like a certain bloodline.
Yeah.
And so when she mentions yes, he is, like he gets a headache and like
The
collapses,
cicada noises.
like collapses on the ground. He's like, "Ah, do you hear that?" And then like they go away and they start kissing.
And in the
rolling.
meantime, the whole time the dog is like, because they take the dog with them. It's like digging for something.
And then you find it like brings up a hand
And just drops it on this girl's face.
and she starts like screaming. And then the next scene is the sheriff and everyone's there.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, like we gotta keep digging. Like there might be more remains here, and they find a skull.
Also, the dad, like, because they're all waiting there. The dad shows up, like, pissed off at this girl.
Oh yeah, and he like
Tells the son that if he sees him again, he's gonna kill him. Like all this.
well,
stuff.
and you kind of get the air that he's like an abusive father too.
Oh, yeah.
because he like screams at the girl and everything when they get in the car,
100%.
and then like they drive away all like angry.
Lots of small town like shenanigans.
So they take the son away, but the dad stays.
And they look and they find all these.
They find a ton of remains, a skull, like a full skeletal body.
One of the things they find is it's like a leg that has like a metal joint.
Yeah, and the doctor recollects that he's like, there's only one person I've done this on, and
Because it's a small area.
it was this woman, and
She was buried. Like she should be buried.
he's like, I remember doing this, and then he picks up another bone. He's like, looks like these are gnawed on.
Yeah, someone was gnawing on them. But they go and talk to like them, and then we get like the flash of the title screen that says "The Second Night."
Yep.
And it's the they go to talk to the mortician real quick and ask him like, hey,
When he's
like
sewing up the newspaper guy, and
he's like, did you like they're asking him about this woman with the metal knee, and he's like, are you like I buried her fine? Like, are you saying there's something
Like
wrong?
we put her in the coffin and put her in the ground. There's nothing wrong.
Like, are you implying that I did something wrong? But the sheriff and everyone else is kind of
Don't they exhume the body?
they go in the meantime to exhume the body to see what the deal is.
Yeah. So they get to the bottom, and he pulls out just a rock, and he's
Just
like,
rocks.
"This coffin ain't nothing but rocks."
So
you're like,
in the meantime,
another
there's
piece
this
of the puzzle.
there's this guy who's they don't like say it explicitly, but you can tell he's like homeless and like kind of a drunk
Yeah, because he's drinking on like the side of the road,
on a side of like a railroad, and
and the kid comes by
starts talking to him, and he like recognizes like the voice.
Yeah, because the kid has a very distinctive
When he's like in his evil mode, so to speak.
It's a very distinctive voice because it doesn't sound anything like the actual
The normal,
the normal kid. And he's like, "Billy, is that you?" Like, what? And like he sees the kid, but like he sees his eyes and everything, and hears the voice, and he's like, "Billy, like how'd you come back and everything?"
And then he just like that part ends, and then it's the mortician doing his business. He hears like noises.
So he goes out because he's working on the newspaper guy. So he goes out of the like his workstation, and then goes and hears like glass shattering. So he goes back in, and the body is like fully propped up,
Yeah.
and like the mouth is gaped open. And so he lays it back down, and he's like, he thinks it's a bunch of kids like pulling a prank.
And then he's like telling him all this shit, like it's gonna be you laying there. And then he goes into this other room.
Well, and again, it's like, I don't know why. Well, I get why, but every scene with like these weird like small town people is very like uneasy.
Well,
because
it's
of
just
how they act and everything.
It's like I don't know. It's like it has that. It's like if you ever read like Stephen King.
Yeah,
like the way he talks about like small town like bullshit. It's got that same like
everyone
air.
just acts like really fucking weird.
Weird and like you can tell that it's like these are fucked up people.
Yeah, like they're not good people because he's playing around with these kids, but he's like, oh, I'm
He's
gonna
threatening
get
them
ya.
with like,
yeah.
well, he's also threatening them with like actual like violence too. Um, it's just like, yeah, like why would kids even be in there in the first place? But again, it's all there to like make you uncomfortable.
Which I mean, horror movie. That's its job.
That's what it has to
So,
do.
so he like uncovers like two of the bodies, and they're not in there. And then when he's like,
This I was gonna say.
so fucking weird.
Speaking of uncomfortable,
because he uncovers one like a woman's body and starts like just like
looking at her,
admiring
she's naked. Yeah,
the body, and then you see behind him something like rises up, and he's just like he's so enthralled with the body
yeah.
that he doesn't even notice the thing behind him, and like the kid just fucking stabs an embalming needle into him, and embalms him alive.
Yeah. And because like the sheriff and everyone else are suspicious because they found the rocks,
They're gonna go back to the
office.
mortician to ask him, but like he's laying on one of the tables.
They see like a big puddle of blood, and they go in that room and they see him and they just see that he's been embalmed alive.
Mm-hmm.
That's second night done.
Yep. Things haven't gone like so. The second death isn't as violent as the first one. But it's still the implications of being embalmed alive. I can't even imagine.
And the dude like looking at the corpse, the naked corpse, like there's just
It's just there's just like it's creep town the whole time for an hour and 30 minutes.
They start also the doctor starts seeing like the doctor operating on the son. He starts seeing that there's like almost like it's like a what the fuck word did he use? He's got like a layer almost of like skin under his actual skin.
Right, because he keeps feeling something like, and then he looks at like X-rays, and there's like weird like extra skin everywhere, and he's not sure like where it's coming from.
And also the son sees he's got like a pain in the back of his neck.
So he sees like an open wound and like tries to cover it up, but the doctor sees it.
Yeah.
And the doctor is like, well, what is that? Like, can I look at it? And then son's like, no. And like pushes the doctor.
And knocks him out.
Like knocks him out. And the parents get there and they like help him. And
also, I completely forgot because the way that the mortician stuff ended was because the son was missing again.
Yeah. Right.
They had no idea where he was, and they're like, oh, he's probably with the girl because he's got a crush on her. So they go there, and you just see him like in her bedroom, and he's got like a
like a glass like
it's almost like a snow globe, but like solid.
It's like one of those glass like display things you'd put on like a light.
Yeah.
To make it like.
And he's holding it, and he like starts like raising it above his head, like he's gonna smash her head in.
And the dad comes in and like is like, "What the hell are you doing like in here?"
And they stop them before it can get like.
But then like you see the dad at the end of the scene like slap the daughter.
Yeah.
Like across the.
And then immediately after he slaps her, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to."
Yeah. And then.
Also, they keep telling the son like, "Oh."
And then next is when the doctor gets shoved into the wall.
Well, before the doctor gets shoved into the wall, we get a scene where because they keep like telling the son like, "Oh, well, we can go to like a better hospital and go to like
Texas,
Houston."
Yeah.
But every time they tell him, he's like, "No, I don't want to go. I like it here." And then there's a part where they're telling him like, "No, we're gonna go."
He's like, "I'm not going."
And he gets like super aggressive, and he's like, "I'm not going. I'm not listening to you." And then the mom says like. She basically says, "You can't talk to your father that way." And he's like, "That's not my father."
That's not my father. Billy is my father.
Yeah. Billy, I forgot the fucking name. Billy something.
I can't remember the last name. I'm sorry.
But yeah, Billy is the father.
Yes.
And they, so they're all also, because they have no idea who the hell this Billy person is.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, no one knows. We don't know either. The son knocks the doctor out, escapes again, and then we see like the guy.
This is when the homeless alcoholic guy.
He's been trying to tell everybody.
He tries to tell everyone that Billy is back. Like he doesn't know how it's happening.
He even tells him like he's back, but he's back in.
But like he's killing people, and somehow he has possessed the son.
Yeah.
Like he's like, it's not the son, it's Billy, but the Billy is using the son.
Yeah, and everyone's like, "Oh, you need more booze."
Yeah, you drunk like asshole and everything. So
He goes and like hides in like it's like a power plant, and of course
and Billy's right there,
he's right there.
and he's like, "You think I wouldn't find you in our old childhood hiding spot?"
And he chases him up, and like the guy's already exhausted because we saw him run like from the town to the power station, and he gets up there, and the Billy
Like lifts him off the ground and
and
just
throws him.
tosses him onto the power box, and all the power goes out. So like the sheriff's like, "Oh, we got to go investigate this. We got to go see what's going on."
And then the sheriff ends up finding the dead body of the guy.
Right, and then like the parents are arguing about like what they're gonna do with Billy, and the power comes back on, and that's when the sheriff shows up
Yeah.
and is like, "This guy's dead.
Like we need to
Find the son."
find out where he is, and then we get the title card that says the third night,
Yep.
and he's at the he's with the girl again, and he's just like telling her like you have to leave. You're part of like the bloodline.
Like you're in danger if you stay here because I can't control this.
Like something bad. Like you're gonna die like everyone else has died.
Well, and he sees the bruise on her chin, and it's like your father did that.
Yeah.
And she's like, I think she even says like he didn't mean to or
Yeah.
whatever. But like you can tell what's gonna happen.
But she goes in like the bathroom and starts getting ready, and he's losing it. He's losing control, and he just goes up to the door and like is like, "I told you to leave," but he's got like Billy's voice now, and she's just like, "Michael, is that you?" And then he like rips the door handle,
the entire door handle off the door,
and busts the door open,
like
and
both knobs and all.
Starts like attacking her, and then he jumps out. He basically tries to kill himself.
Yeah, because he like jumps off the balcony.
He jumps through a window, goes off the balcony, and over a tree.
Might I say, the stunt looks incredible.
Oh, I appreciate it.
It looks so good.
I appreciate
an actual stunt actor fell off a second-story
threw
building.
themselves through the glass.
I mean, obviously there's probably a pad that they didn't show, but like he still threw himself off a freaking
hit a tree. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they take him back to the hospital, and they're all like, why would he try to kill himself? And oh boy.
This scene.
He starts telling them.
This is
because they're like.
Is this the transformation scene?
Almost.
Well,
because they start restraining him, because he starts telling them like, you have to kill me. Like it's like if you don't kill me, it's gonna be over. Then he starts telling him like, if you don't understand, like I'll be dead already. Like you have to stop this. You have to kill me.
When the
it's
doctor,
gonna be him. He's gonna take control.
The doctor starts cutting away at the bandage on the back of his of his neck, and like cuts through the second layer of skin and finds like this weird like mucusy like skin underneath, and like starts like ripping off his old skin, and
they restrain him, and he kind of like freaks out a little bit, and then you get like a quick scene where the girl is like driving away.
When she's all pissed off because
he told her to leave and like all this stuff, and she's driving and she's like crying, and then she hits like there's like a roadblock. She hits it in her car.
Careens.
Goes into a ditch.
Yep.
And immediately it's back. We also get a scene where the dad of that girl is talking to the mayor. And he's just like, I have to like, he keeps talking to my daughter. And then the mayor's like, well, what are you going to do? Like, he's like, I'm going to kill him. He's like, but he'll get in trouble. Unless you kill him and make it look like one of those murders.
Yep.
So, because they're all in on it.
Mm-hmm.
They all know what the hell's going on.
So it implies the daughter died, right? Am I getting that correct?
No, the daughter, the ending of the movie, remember?
Oh, right.
That's her.
Yeah. Sorry. My bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
But as soon as she crashes, it cuts to him.
Because she doesn't show up until the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like knocked out. But yeah, she crashes, and it immediately cuts to the son in the bed. Like he starts freaking out. Like
he, like rips off the restraints and like sits.
The dad shows up, and he starts changing.
Yeah, his like skin gets all bubbly and
His
like.
skin gets, his forehead gets all
Oh,
huge.
we also forgot to mention they do go back to the old house where Bobby was
Oh
killed,
yeah,
or
well, because he
Billy was
tells
killed.
them he tells them where it is
And he tells them about the dreams he's been having. So they go there and they find like a giant skeleton.
with a really like misshapen skull,
Yeah, and they're
just
like,
sitting in
"What
the
the hell
corner.
is that?" I mean, just quick thing we forgot because they just find that, and that gives you more like context to what's gonna
Yeah,
happen. Um, so anyway, like his skin starts bubbling. He like starts like
crazy
like
effects.
like bones start cracking. Like the back of his like neck starts like growing and like these weird like
Just crazy effects.
well, because they do this weird thing where it's like they're pumping air into like different prosthetics on his face, and it looks all fucking
And his head's like
grotesque.
expanding and like it's all sweaty. And remember, there's like a few shots where his tongue's going all like crazy.
One that looks all weird. There's also a shot where it's like his entire face is swollen and just like moving in like unnatural like ways.
It's great.
It's very uncomfortable to watch, but
Oh,
it's like
it's
the
so good.
effects are so good.
If you love just crazy like practical effects,
Practical and animatronic like transformation
this
effects.
scene, oh boy, it's made for you. And everyone's just like terrified by this. And he like stands up and like it's implied that when he stands up he's just like massive.
It reminded me of the what's that werewolf movie
American Werewolf in London. Yeah.
where like it goes through the transformation, but it like step by step shows you how he transforms
Each
into the werewolf.
yeah, and it's all
And
just
like how painful it is.
it's
and
all
everything.
practical and
Oh man,
Yeah.
that is like one of the perfect transformation scenes.
yeah,
I love that movie.
it's fantastic.
But anyway, so they kind of reminded me of that because it's very in depth. There's a lot of effects going on. There's a lot. They didn't have to go this hard.
They didn't.
But my God, they did.
It's amazing.
Because it lasts for quite a while.
Yeah, it's a few minutes and like everyone's freaking out and like the music's going insane and like
One is like fucking like bones like in his face or like all contorting and like everything.
you see like his old skin like almost like popping off and like the new skin underneath. Like it's wonderful.
Well, he looks like this like weird like mix between like a troglodyte
It's
like
so weird.
monster like humanoid thing, and he like immediately like just like grabs the
Well, because don't
dad's-
forget the guy, like the mayor's there with him, and he's just like shoot him, and he shoots him.
and there's like a black blood
There's
that
like all
comes
this
up.
black blood, but it doesn't do a damn thing.
And the beast goes like right after
dad.
the daughter's dad, and like just like crushes his throat, and
And you
there's
just see like blood
everywhere.
everywhere, and they're all like running away, and you see like you hear like you hear like something breaking, because the sheriff shows up, and they walk back in there, and the wall is just destroyed.
Yep. So next scene we get is where the mayor's like freaking out, right?
Well, we get a quick scene of them in the woods.
Oh, right. Yeah, sorry.
And they find the dead body of the dad, and it's like strung up in a tree. And then we also find the son's skin.
Yes.
It's all like
Hanging on a tree branch.
which
And the
great effect.
The mayor's like trying to like get all
He's getting all
like,
his money.
all his money, and he like takes off his toupee. He's like
He's
completely
completely
bald,
bald.
and he's like freaking out, getting all his money, and he goes to like he goes out and like sees them,
He goes in his car and he sees the thing.
and it's like this weird like
These big like
brown, like it has huge eyes. It's like a humanoid cicada thing.
it is. That's literally what it is.
It's like a humanoid
cicada.
like freak
And
cicada.
it's
almost
very-
like the fly.
It reminded me of that.
If
yeah.
it was a cicada,
It reminded me of the fly.
because it's that grotesque. It's not like it's not like this cool monster, right? It's like this disgusting, like grotesque thing.
Well, plus like they film it. It's filmed very like sparingly.
Right, well, because they don't show it on screen too much, where it like kind of becomes stupid. It's just on there just enough to like kind of be like, ooh, that thing's ooh, wow.
So you just your brain fills in the gaps.
Yeah,
But yeah, it attacks him and he drives away, and then he
goes. They all go to the
the police station.
police station, and the
'Cause they're all getting weapons.
They're all loading up, and then the mayor like comes desperately knocking on the door.
It's in the name of Jesus, let me in.
And they let him in, and he's like, "It's after me. It's after me. You need to like protect me. Like you need to help me."
And then the son of like our kid confronts him like, you know what's going on. And he basically, this is like when we get like the whole
They're
thing.
all connected, and they basically what happened is one of them was like
The guy,
Billy.
so Lionel, so Billy was Lionel's son. And Lionel found Billy and his mom together
Yep.
already. Fucked up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some fucking deep fried insanity. And he kicked the mom out of the house and locked Billy in the cellar.
Yep.
And basically he started starving. And eventually he
Lionel started exhuming bodies from the cemetery to feed Billy.
And would start like, because you saw like a quick in the kid's nightmare, there was a quick, I swear it was on screen for like maybe 1 second,
Like a body flying down
like
the
someone
cellar.
opening the cellar and throwing a body down. Again, good filmmaking, because it's in there for like, I swear to God, like a millisecond.
Yeah.
But yeah, he started feeding him dead bodies. So one day, 17 years ago,
He broke out.
He broke out and assaulted the wife and murdered Lionel.
Yep.
Ripped him to fucking shreds, and they just covered it up.
Didn't they say he killed the mom too or whatever?
Yeah.
Because they went and killed Lionel.
Well, because that was the first body. The
Yeah.
first body that he threw down there was the mom.
Oh, right.
He basically
okay.
had him
Yeah.
eat the mother's body.
Yeah. Yeah, because Lionel killed the mom.
Yeah.
For sleeping with the son. It's fucking wild.
It's great. It's great.
It's like complete like Mississippi backwoods.
It is so insane.
It's great.
It's so great. And my favorite thing though, favorite thing is I love that there's like there's no real explanation for what the fuck this thing is.
Well, they also don't explain like how it came to be and how it can transfer from like
it's
person
like some
to person.
Which I love.
I do love the like
because in my opinion, like it's one of those things where if you tried to make an explanation, it would lessen it.
yes.
In my head, it's like what he did. Like this whole family was so fucked up, and what he did to that kid was so fucked up that he like somehow transformed him into some fucking demonic thing.
Well, and to me, like a lot of the horror films that do that are way better.
Yeah.
So like films that like don't answer anything. I think that's more horrific.
Yeah.
That you don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
Like you have no idea like what it's like. It's up in the air. It's
Yeah.
just like, okay, cool. Like just put it together how you would. Like
It's just like
it's
some-
up to your like imagination what happened.
It's like they just pushed like evil human like behavior to its
Like,
limit,
Incest and evil
and cannibalism.
shit. Yeah.
And it just created this thing, and now it's like a brand new bloodline of
Yeah.
evil.
So the thing starts like pounding on the door, and you see its fists like go through the door easily.
And they try shooting it, and nothing.
And
it's not,
so they go into the jail cell, and
because it's like hard walls, right?
And the mayor's like, you have to lock me up. It's the safest place in town. Please lock me up. Like lock me up. And they like all like surround him.
And he's like locked in the jail cell, and they give him a gun and everything, and the thing is like pounding on the door,
And then
you just get a quick shot of like its eyeball, like,
looking through, and it sees the mayor,
and then it just walks away.
and then you don't hear anything. And
You hear the cicada noise.
it's like all silent, and then the mayor like backs up to the
he's
wall.
like, it's coming for me. And
He's
he
like,
backs up to the
there's no
wall.
way it can get through any of these walls. They can only come through that door. And then like you hear the cicada sound get even louder, and then like two hands just burst through the concrete.
This like concrete wall and rip his head off.
He like grabs his like head and just like pulls on it so hard that it just rips the guy's head off.
And most
blood
of it,
just like spurts everywhere.
my favorite thing though is most of it is done in one shot.
Yes.
Which, what an effect. because again, when he rips the head off, like the blood starts spurting from the body, like, and most of it's in one shot of him just busting through the wall and like immediately just grabs the head and rips it off. Like, I love that shit.
Yep.
Like, that is a goddamn effect.
So then they like decide to go after it again because it runs away, and they're chasing it through the woods. And
Then
of
this is
course,
where it catches up to the girl
woman.
who's now knocked out, and she gets up. She sees this thing, and it's like shrouded in like glass. And again, it's like the same thing as the beginning. She runs through the woods. She trips, hits her head, gets knocked out, and the thing once again rapes her.
Yep.
Once again, they find her body. It's like one for one. But they find the thing, and it's like in the swamp. It's almost like covering itself up, and it attacks the dad, and they're wrestling with it. And this also gave me heavy like Fly vibes.
Yeah, definitely.
Because the dad has a shotgun with him, he drops it while he's wrestling it, and then the mom picks up the shotgun and shoots the thing in the head. And again, because it's an '80s movie, the fucking blood and guts explode everywhere.
Yep.
It's not just a gunshot; it's
Oh, it's just like it's a shotgun blast, so it's like just explosion.
and it's an '80s movie, so
It's lit.
It's R-rated to the max, and the movie just ends. It just ends.
Just shows the house where the monster came
Yeah.
from, and then ends.
Yeah.
What a movie!
And in your head, it's like, yeah, it continues because guess what? It attacked the girl.
Yeah. And it's weird. It's like interesting that it happens on like the 17th. Like,
And I mean, I don't live in the South, so I don't know about cicada cycles, but
it might have some context.
is there a
I'm
17-year
not sure.
cycle?
Maybe.
Don't know.
I don't know
if there
anything
is,
about
that
cicadas.
that just adds to it.
All I know is they're huge in anime, and they're big in this movie. So,
I never.
like slice of life animes love using the cicada sound,
Well, listen,
but it's not it's not as horrific sounding as this cicada sound.
I never expected to watch a horror movie involving cicadas.
I never did either. We've watched ones involving rabbits. We watched ones involving worms. We watched ones involving a bunch of different stuff.
I mean, the worm one was not good.
Was it Squirm?
That was disappointing.
Yeah. It
And that
was.
Lapis was funny because I mean, it's adorable. This is not adorable. This is dirty, filthy, violent filmmaking, and I love it.
It's great. It's a very mean spirited movie. So if you're not into that kind of horror,
Squeamish.
it is not for the faint of heart because it's like
No.
the scenes are pretty disgusting.
There's just like I mean the very plot in and of itself is fucked up. A woman gets assaulted, and then 17 years later, her own child starts turning into the same monster that assaulted her.
Yeah, I would say it's like
It's just
if
like
you had a hard time watching like The Hills Have Eyes and stuff like that, you'd probably have a hard time watching this one.
and I'll be honest, like I know The Hills Have Eyes is like the more, I mean, it's well known. This is the better movie because this has that like 80s polish.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that early 2000s like really grittiness they tried to go for.
It's just like that 80s polish where it's like it's got like the good filmmaking, but it's just like it is an R-rated film,
Yes.
and it earns that.
Yes, definitely. I know, I liked this movie a lot. The effects were great, the acting was pretty good. Like there's no really like big complaints for me.
I have no complaints. I mean, I know this got a Blu-ray release by Arrow.
I don't know if it's the
Fitting.
UK version, but
Because this deserves more attention.
honestly, so like when the kid was I think the only complaint I would have, and it's a really small one. When the kid was playing Billy, he was great, right? But when he was playing just like the annoying, obnoxious, like teenage kid, his acting, like, for some reason took a dip every time
I
for me.
mean, the only
I
thing
don't.
I noticed is like when he was playing like the normal kid, it was very like almost like Leave It to Beaver.
It was like hammy. It was like it's weird. I don't know why they told him to ham it up. Then, like I said, it's a little.
Yeah,
That's a small little complaint. It's like nothing
yeah.
as far as the context of the movie.
Because then there's a total 180, and then he's not Leave It to Beaver.
Exactly, because he is really good as like the Billy character, and like he's not that like annoying Leave It to Beaver kid like the whole time. So
No,
hardly at all actually.
barely.
So
I mean, look, the movie's only 99 minutes, so I.
it's definitely not going to waste your time.
There's no time wasted. Again, genre films, 90 minutes. Perfect.
Monster slasher films.
A monster slasher film.
Yep.
I don't know. It's like they
Like
made
the
a
kill
movie.
count isn't huge, but it's like effective. Like the violent scenes are very violent.
Yeah, even when there's not people dying, it's
Yes. That transformation scene was disgusting.
it's great. It's if you're a fan of like American Werewolf in London, or I mean, this came out the same year as the Thing. So if you're a fan of like 80s effects, puppets, makeup, all that stuff, this is worth a look.
Definitely.
Especially considering like this is very under the radar.
Oh yeah. Not a lot of people know about this one.
No.
But honestly, if it had a cult following, I wouldn't even be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I know there are people who like this movie, but it's just one of those movies that you'll never find this on like Netflix or something. So
No.
people just don't watch it.
But it is worth a watch if you're looking for like a niche thing.
A crazy, crazy thing. This is worth it.
You can rent it on Amazon Prime. It's also on Tubi, I think.
Is it?
With ads? Yeah, I looked it up. It's on Tubi. I don't really use Tubi too much, so I don't know if it's like good quality or not. We didn't watch it on Tubi. We watched it on Amazon. It is standard definition on Amazon.
If you can somehow get a hold of the HD.
I don't know if the Arrow is region locked or not. Some of them are UK only.
Yeah, some of them are UK only.
So,
but if there's a US one, listen, if anything we described sounds appealing to you,
yeah.
you need to watch this in HD.
Yes.
Because
and I'm hoping you're coming back after watching the movie.
Yes.
And not coming back and not just have been here the whole time and are not going to watch the movie. Because I guarantee you our description is not as good as what actually happens.
Trust
in the
me,
movie.
you have to see it.
Yeah, you have to see it to believe it.
You have to see the insanity on screen.
Exactly. Yeah, so Shitty to Pretty, what would you give this one?
I mean, I think mine's very obvious. I'm giving it a 10.
Yeah, it's a 10 for me too.
I don't. This is one of those movies that you just watch and it's just like, oh, it hits all my
82
marks.
might be one of the hardest years I've had to choose like a best of the best.
Well, here's the thing.
Because there is a lot of good stuff here.
Here's the thing. Well, we got more coming.
I know, and it's like it's gonna be even harder. It's like, how do I choose a best of the best when they're all bangers?
And a lot of the stuff like this.
Not all of them are obviously great. Like we've watched some shitty movies this year, but
Unhinged.
yeah, well, yeah.
This is better than Unhinged.
I was gonna mention Unhinged, but I think we've mentioned it literally every single episode because it's so bad.
Listen, it's in my brain. It's fresh.
Exactly.
It hasn't gone rotten yet, so it's still fresh in my mind.
Even though the movie itself is rotten.
It's a rotten tomato.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, so like if you like this kind of like movie, if you like any sort of like effects, like even like Fangoria effects, like it's pretty. If you're a fan of Fangoria and shit like that, or like Evil Dead, anything like that, like you'd probably like this movie. I guarantee.
Oh yeah.
It's just a good horror movie for anyone who loves that kind of shit, and I do.
Oh yeah.
I am a sucker for like practical effects and like crazy shit that I've never seen before.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're horror hounds. It's one of the reasons we have this podcast. We're action and horror hounds, and I love horror that can like push my buttons.
I like horror that I haven't like I I hadn't like thought of the concept or like even like remotely wrapped my head around how they would make a movie about that.
Or who would come up with that, or
Like who would come up and like get me to wrap my head around a humanoid cicada that bursts out of someone else's skin,
yeah,
like and is transferred through like
through rape.
paternal, like
Yeah.
yeah, like assault.
With like generational. It's insane.
It's fucking nuts, and like that concept is wild.
Well, it's one of
but
those
for
things
some
where
reason
like,
it works.
because again, you don't have to explain it, because in your head it's just like,
Oh, there's no context, which is great. There's
It's
no
great.
like there's no big exposition dump or
No.
anything. The only exposition dump you get is when the mayor just says why he's going after the blood.
like who is who.
That's it. He doesn't explain why it's a big
you're not
fucking
gonna-
cicada like monster.
No one's gonna tell you why there's an actual monster, and then you know what? You don't need it,
You don't care because you know what? You watch it and you enjoy it.
because it's horrifying. That's
Just
why.
sit down for 99 minutes and just enjoy the fucking movie. That's what you have to do.
Just enjoy the ride.
Just don't ask questions.
Just open your mind, as I say.
Open your mind, or if you're like that kind of person that questions everything, just turn off your brain and just enjoy the movie.
Just accept the cicada. Let it into your life.
Yeah.
The anime people do, so you can too.
Exactly. Of course, this is not a slice of life anime, so
It's a slice of life for somebody.
yep, I guess so.
If you really put your noggin to it, Will.
It's a slice of life.
It was a
like-
slice of life for Billy,
Like the
okay?
slice that took people's lives.
Mm,
The slice
it's
to
that kind of
people's
slice of
throat.
life.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
A slice of someone else's life.
Now that I really think about it, the horror in this almost reminds me of something out of like anime. If I really think about it.
A little bit. Like, kind of reminds me, I guess if you were going to go this far, you could make the connection. The transformation scene is kind of whack like the transformation scene in Akira in the,
Yeah.
in the stadium. Not
Well-
as, like, grand scale, obviously, because in Akira, shit goes fucking ham. But, like, but, you know, on a much, 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 much smaller scale.
I was gonna say it almost has like Junji Ito vibes,
A little bit, yeah.
just like weird anime shit.
Weird anime shit, and I could see Junji Ito making a fucking novel about an evil cicada man.
They should have gotten these people to make a fucking some live action anime for us.
Yes. Junji Ito should write a fucking
Beast
story
Within
about
adaptation.
fucking like a cicada man that fucking kills people.
Kills people every 17 years.
Yep,
Like it literally sounds like a manga or an anime.
it really does.
It's great.
But yeah, go watch The Beast Within. Like I said, at this point, I've hoped you have watched it
Please.
and you made it to the end of the episode and you fucking subscribe to everything.
Please. Please do.
But yeah, so that's all I have to say.
That's it.
And
That's it for me.
for They Mostly Come Out at Night, this has been Will.
This has been Alex.
We will see you all in about a week and a half.
Oh, bye.
Bye.
Try not to kill myself in the meantime.
Jesus Christ.
It's gonna fine. Just
I know. It's fine.
turn off the microphone. Will. Turn off the recording. Turn off the recording. Turn off the recording.